Hey everybody, SirGuido here again with a brand new video. This time I want to talk about a game that I've been running for a while now at my friendly local gaming store. It's something that was talked about a lot and still is talked about a lot on the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. One of the hosts, Kimmy, is a big fan of the game. Her talking about it and hearing about her various con games that she's run of it had me deciding to pick it up, and so I did so, and I'm finally getting a chance to play it, and that is Wild Talents. As you can see by my flags here, it's been fairly well used. It's a great game. It's mostly superhero based, and it really works well for heroes. But it can be used for other things. I could see this very well, or very well. That's a very bad grammar usage, but I could see this working really well for like a modern game that has some magic in it. It does have a lot of rules in here for modern things like weapons and things like that. There's lots of guns in here. There's even like bombs and things like that in here that are included. It does have lots of what they call miracles, which are basically the superpowers and how to build them, but you could use the miracles to build other things besides superpowers. There's even a section on building items, gadgets, using their miracle system. Uh, so, like you could make weapons basically out of their miracle system. So if you wanted to do something that was even more high tech based, using some of the different items that are in this book, I think that would work really well. But what I'm doing right now is a superhero game. That's what I'm using it for. And I think it's working out pretty well in terms of its usage. Now, my game itself isn't working out real well. I've had some players quit. I've had some disagreements between myself and players over content of the game, and people that weren't really happy with where the game was going in terms of the storyline. Not so much of the content of the storyline, but the storyline itself. And then I've had some disagreements between players that caused some players to leave. I started off with 7 players, and I'm now down to 4. 3 of those are from the original 7, so take that how you will, but I don't think it has anything to do with the system itself. The system itself is really great. It's called the One Roll Engine. The way the One Roll Engine works is it's a dice pool system that uses 10-sided dice. Unlike most die pool systems that I'm used to anyway, I've played Old World of Darkness. It was a dice pool where you would roll all d10s, and you were looking for successes. I believe it was anything that was over 4 or something, or I think it might have been even variable. And based on the number of successes you rolled, I've only played it a couple times, so I really can't remember. But based on the number of successes you rolled, determined the degree of success in your actual roll, or whatever it was you were trying to accomplish. I'm very familiar with Legend of the Five Rings, which is a dice pool system that also uses d10s. And, excuse me, that is the roll and keep system. The way that works is you determine the number of dice rolled based on your stats and skills. You add those together and you roll that many dice, but you only get to keep a certain number of dice that you roll based on the attribute that's associated with that roll. So, for example, if you were attacking with a sword, that's Kenjutsu, your sword skill, and that's based on agility. If you had agility of 3 and a Kenjutsu of 3, you'd roll 6 dice. Your agility is 3, so you only get to keep 3 of those dice. And in that system, the dice do explode, so you have a chance to get some really cinematic things going on. With this system, however, you're looking for matching dice. The number of dice that match together is really your goal, and something is what you're really looking for. So, for example, if you look down at your skill or your miracle or whatever it is you're trying to do, and you're like, okay, and you add it together, and you're like, okay, I have 7 dice in my flight miracle superpower. In order to activate that, I have to have at least 2 dice that match. So I have to have at least 2 of some number when I roll those 10 dice. And then the more that you have, the better your activation of that is. The reason why it's called the one-roll engine is how those numbers affect combat, primarily combat. Uh, Basically, when combat breaks out, you declare your action, and it's a certain declaration order based in upon what the sense called the sense stat. Whoever has the lowest sense stat to whoever has the highest sense stat, and you declare in that order with tiebreakers in between. Once actions are all declared, everyone takes their dice pool that's determined based on the action they declared, and they roll those dice. Whoever has the most dice that match together goes first, no matter when they declared. So, for example, say if it was you have 4 players, one declares that they're going to shoot another character. The other character says, well, I'm going to dodge out of the way of their shooting, because the person who says that they're going to shoot declared first, and the person who's dodging declared second. The third person says, well, I'm going to knock down the shooter so he doesn't even get a chance to shoot. And then the fourth person says, I don't really care what's going on. I'm just going to watch. They all roll. The person who's going to dodge goes first. So they dodge out of the way. Then the shooter goes next. They shoot where there's nobody anymore. And then the person who says that they were going to knock the shooter down, they go and they knock the shooter down. So it has a chance to really throw a little bit of a mystery element into combat, which I really, really like. And you have a variability in how the different things work when you're rolling. Plus, you have a bit more flexibility in things you can do. In this game, instead of having to spin certain things to do multiple actions, you drop dice from your pool and then have to roll multiple matches in order to do the different actions you were planning to do. Which works out really well too, because if you're good enough, you can pull off several actions. Where if you're not so good, maybe you can pull off 2 actions. Probably not 3, and definitely 4 is really going to push it. And then what helps all of this is what they call types of dice. It's still you're rolling a die, but you have the regular die, which is just rolling a die, and then you have hard dice. Hard dice don't get rolled. They get set to the side, and they're always set at 10. Now, this might sound great, and in some cases it is, but in some cases it's not. Because you see, another great aspect of this game that I love a lot is what their hit table, basically. If you can sort of see that there, you see each section of the body has a number. Well, if you have an ability with a lot of hard dice in it, and it's an attack ability, you're actually going to be attacking someone, that means that every time you use it, you're always attacking the head, no matter what. You can't help it. You just have hard dice in it. Now, there are some abilities where the number on it doesn't really matter. You're just looking for the number of dice that match. For example, I have a player in my game who is a healer. He's got regenerative abilities that he can use, that he basically always active on himself, and he can use it to heal other people as well. With this ability, it affects the entire body and heals a number of wounds to the body in all locations based on the number of dice that match. So this player has taken all hard dice in his ability. So it works every single time he uses it, no matter what, because he's always going to have a match because all of his dice are hard dice. And on top of that, he always knows he's going to heal at least 6 wounds in every location because he has 6 hard dice in his ability. So that's makes the game a little more flexible. Then there's the third type of die, which makes the game even more flexible, and that's a wiggle die. The wiggle die also gets set to the side. You roll the rest of your dice. The wiggle die then becomes whatever number you want it to be. So if you're looking to do multiple actions, those wiggle dice can become more pairs. So you can make sure you're going to complete the multiple actions. If you're only doing one action, those wiggle dice can make sure that you have the widest possible set possible. Or if you get several sets when you roll and you're only doing one action, those wiggle dice can make sure that you get the biggest height possible. Now, what I'm saying in these words What they mean is width is the number of dice that match. The height is the number that's on the die. The height is 1 through 10. So, and they mean different things. One of the explanations that I've either seen in this book or I saw online, I can't remember where, was, say you're running a race. You have two different people that have equal skill. They both roll their dice. One guy rolls 7 ones. The other guy rolls 4 tens. Well, width always goes first. It's faster. So that means the guy who rolled 7 ones wins the race because he goes fast. But while he's doing it, he's not looking good. He's stumbling. He is, slipping and sliding, and he's all over the place because one is not that skilled, and it's not done well. Whereas the person who rolled the 4 tens, they eventually get there, and the whole while they're running, they look good. They've got perfect technique. Their feet are hitting the ground in the right ways. They're really just churning their bodies perfectly. They're just not quite as fast as the first guy. So, yeah, that's kind of like a good way, I guess, of looking at it. I kind of like that. But, yeah, Wild Talents, this here is the Essential Edition. I like it a lot because of all the different flexibilities I've talked about. It's a very, very, very cinematic game because it lets you do just about anything you want. It's really set up so you can do a lot of things. The combat information that's in here is great. The different things you can do in combat. One of my favorite parts of the game is the combat system and the things you can do in combat. For example, you have like different melee options. I'm trying to flip some up here so I can kind of give you an idea what I was talking about. You have called shots. The way a called shot works is when you're getting ready to make an attack and you want to hit their arm because they're holding a gun. You take one die from your pool and you set it aside. That's your penalty die. And then you take another die from the pool that's remaining and set it to the location you're trying to hit. So if this case, if he's got a gun in his right hand, you want a 5 or a 6. So you can set that die to a 5 or a 6. Take the rest of your dice and you roll them. If you get a match that's 5 or 6, or if you roll a 5 or 6, I believe, you know what, I'm not perfectly sure about that. Now that let me look here. Yes, so if you roll one more die that matches that die that you set aside, then it's a success and you get to hit that location. There's the aiming idea in here that's very similar to Savage Worlds aiming, if you're familiar with that, where you can take some time to aim at your target and you get an extra die added to your pool. Yeah, you can do what's called a fast attack, where you lose a die from your pool, but when you roll, whatever the width of your roll ends up being, you get to basically assume that it's one die higher for purposes of initiative. There's knockdown attacks, there's powerful attacks, there's vicious attacks, there's wrestling, there's all these different options in combat. They're all done with the same basic system, the same basic roll system. So, yeah, it's just really good. I like it a lot. But, yeah, so there we go. That's my quick and dirty review of Wild Talents. It's by Arc Dream Publishing, which I believe is arcdream.com. It's only $10 for this Essential Edition. They do have a hardback version. They do have their own setting books out there for this particular game. So if you wanted to run in their setting, you could do that. I've never actually even looked at the setting before, but I really like this game. The players that are still with my game, actually all the players that I played with so far, I've never really had complaints with the game, as in, the system, I should say. They've really just had problems with my game or other players in the game or whatever. But yeah, I would check it out because it's a really good game. I think a lot of people out there would like it if they really took the time to check it out and give it a try. So, again, Wild Talents, Arc Dream Publishing, $10. Go buy it. Why not? Yeah, it's only $10. See you next time. Have a good one.